Today I fucked up and got my name on a suicide watch list. A few weeks ago, I was in my final class of semester, the night before the exam. I am a student paramedic, and the mental health of our cohort is very carefully monitored by the school, for obvious reasons. As the class ended, the tutor spoke to me to thank me for my effort during the semester, and to say she hoped to see my name on her class list. Jokingly, I responded, "They have a list for all the students that throw themselves off the church tower, right? Look for my name there." Most of us have a dark sense of humor in our field, and my tutor was no exception. She laughed with me, then frowned. "You know I have to report you for saying that." I thought she was joking, and laughed again. The next day I was contacted by the university's therapist offices to book my first mandatory session. Too long didn't read, made a stupid joke, got stuck on suicide watch, required to do therapy this semester. Guys, can we quit being assholes to people with depression and shit in the comments? Thanks. Kissing face. Well. Most likely, unless you stumble onto some underlying issues, the therapist will recognize things right away and you can use the therapy time for growth in areas that might help you going forward, goal setting, etc. Kind of an if I gotta be here, let's make something out of it deal. Hey, look on the bright side, free therapy. Some folks dropped some serious loot for therapy. If a university offers something for free, you have definitely already paid for it. I had this same fuck up in school years ago, except I didn't say anything. A kid stole my notebook with all the lyrics to the songs I was writing, and after reading through it to make fun of me turned it in. Bam, mandatory therapy, and they called my parents, who had a mental breakdown over the idea their son might be suicidal. The reality is, them going nutso over the whole thing instead of just saying "Hey, what's this book about?" to me actually made me want to run away or commit suicide out of sheer embarrassment. The mandatory therapy sessions were a complete joke too. Guy right away looked at me and was like, "You really don't belong here, do you?" after asking me a few questions to gauge my mental state. I think I went 1 to 2 more times before he went to the principal and vice and told them that they were overreacting. Oh, and I never got my notebook back, at least 5 songs for my band with lyrics and chord progressions I had spent hours on for a couple months. Completely lost to the wind thanks to people being concerned about me. Sorry to hear that, fellow Birdman. Today I fucked up by accidentally coming onto a male patient while placing a urinary catheter, NSFW. A little backstory, I'm a nurse, 27F, in a small emergency room. Over the years you sort of gather a repertoire of things you say to patients, like saying anything else you need right now before leaving a room, or saying little prick as you draw blood/place and for etc. So one day a patient, approx 50 comes in stating, "I've been peeing a lot of blood." We get a urine sample and it looks more like blood than pee, so the thing to do in this situation was place a 2-way urinary catheter to wash out the bladder. The guy also needed 4 fluids and most likely antibiotics, so he also needed to get an 4. Now when I walk into a room with a tray full of scary looking things, I have little sentence I say, "I'm sorry Therese, some unpleasant things we need to do, but your cooperation will help things move along much easier and swifter," than then explain all the things I need to do and why. So this is not what I said to this man. I walked into the room with my tray of horrors and he strikes up an immediate conversation, so I couldn't say my line. We talk for a good 5 minutes while I prep a sterile field, arrange all my materials and explain to him what is going to happen, etc. I start to prep him for the catheter and suddenly remember I didn't say my line. So there I stand, 26F nurse, with this guy's penis in my hand, and my brain comes up with "I wish there was more pleasant things I could do" as I shove a rubber tube up his junk. He had a good laugh and I turned the reddest I've ever been and profusely apologized. He told all the nurses and doctors about it, and now I'm jokingly known as a catheter fetishist and can never quite live that down. Too long didn't read, I'm an ER nurse and placed a catheter on a male patient, and as I was doing that said, "I wish there was more pleasant things I could do." Patient told all my colleagues and I will never live it down. Edit to clarify, I am 27 now, was 26 when this story took place. English is not my mother tongue. This dialogue happened in German where prick equals stick, which does not in any way mean penis, so something deaf got lost, or added, in translation. At least you didn't mix up your lines and warn him about a little prick. I honestly thought that's where this was going. Had a nurse grab my penis as she was about to insert the catheter, say, "Oh, it's just a little one." She assured me she was talking about catheter. Girlfriend in college was a nurse student and she tried to con me into being her patient for catheter test day. She had previously used me for exam and for practice. I of course declined the catheter experience and she ended up bringing a neighbor who had a crush on her and was always hitting on her. I thought for sure this dude must have a mega dick and thinking this was his chance to show off and I was gonna lose my girl, so you can imagine my surprise when she told me it was so small she could barely grab it and get the tube in. Former Ed Iron here. When listening to a patient's lungs, I used to place my stethoscope on their chest and instruct them by saying, "Big breath," each time I needed them to breathe deeply. That was, until I saw a shocked look on a family member's face seeing my, male, hand apparently on the patient's chest and commenting about her big breasts. I immediately changed to saying, "Deep breath." I read the title in a totally different way. Well, at least he didn't come on you. Today I fucked up by missing the birth of my daughter. Happened yesterday at 2 AM. So my wife was pregnant. I work from home in internet marketing, so don't get out too much, but she heard of a cool local tech conference and thought I should check it out. Important detail to remember. The conference was 5 hours away in a neighboring city. Anyway, she was 37 weeks pregnant, babies are typically cooked at 40, and has been feeling great, so didn't see any issue with me being gone one night. So me and a friend packed up and left for the conference at 1 PM Thursday for the evening networking. Fast forward to 11 PM, we're having a beer before heading to bed after the networking is over, and I get a call from my wife. I think my water broke. What? We're still 3 weeks early, so I say, "No, you're probably not, go back to bed." Did some quick searches and Dr. Google said that because she wasn't having contractions, and she was otherwise feeling fine otherwise, it might just be pee from baby pressing on her bladder. No need to alarm. 10 minutes later I get a text, "Contractions started and they hurt like hell. Going to hospital now." She's home alone and has no way to get to the hospital, so is thinking of calling an ambulance, so my friend says his wife will go pick her up and take her. I tell my wife what's going on and she agrees. She's almost incoherent at this point and can't talk or stand during contractions. Meanwhile, we grab our shit and hit the road. 5 hours, we should be able to make it in time for the birth. Labors usually take 6 to 12 hours. No big deal. She gets to the hospital and they tell her that she's fully dilated, and baby's already crowning. At this point they get her straight into a room. Too late for an epidural. My friend's wife gets me on FaceTime, and I watch in the passenger seat of a car via FaceTime my daughter being born in record time. Total time from water breaking to delivered child, 25 hours. I missed it by an hour. We get there and come cruising in and I got to meet my exhausted wife and beau today I fucked up a baby daughter. So good news, I have a beau today I fucked up healthy baby girl. Bad news is I wasn't physically there. But she can't get me in trouble because she sent me to the conference. TL, doctor, wife sent me to a conference, didn't think we'd have a baby that early, ended up having a baby that early and I missed it. Congrats. FYI, labor that is less than 4 hours is known as precipitous labor, and the likelihood is that each successive birth will take even less time. Just in case you are planning more down the road. Source: my first was an induction and was 25 hours from starting the fourth to induce to baby, second was 5 hours. Everyone thinks this is what they want in labor till I explain that there is no getting on top of any stage of labor. Basically the longest panic attack ever. My first was 4 hours from first contraction, spontaneous labor. My second was 1 hour. I'm scared to have more, smiley face. Congratulations. Probably the most ethical and understandable possible way to miss the birth of your child. At least Op didn't miss his graduation. Same thing happened to Walter White. He was making a meth deal when his daughter was born, and life was a downward trajectory after that. Ha ha ha, my favorite response so far. So my wife was pregnant. I hope so with that title. My daughter's dad missed her birth because he was high on Xanax. You're a good dude. Don't beat yourself up. Smiley face. Look at me. You are her dad now.